Hello, scholars. This is my second attempt to put together a little welcome video for you guys. I did one last night and uploaded it, and then found out this morning when I looked at it that it wasn't functioning. There was no sound, so I took it down. And I'm recording a new video to welcome you to Sociology 1301 and to thank you for enrolling at TCC, and to just talk a little bit about who I am and where I came from and what my background is, just to kind of let you guys know a little bit about me and what I expect in the course and how we expect the semester to play out. Okay, many of you did not enroll in one of my courses, but because of scheduling issues and plummeting enrollment numbers due to the pandemic, unfortunately, we had to shift some schedules around, and so you guys got the short straw, I guess, and ended up with me as your instructor. But we're going to go forward and have a great semester, and I just wanted to welcome you. And like I said, tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in East Texas in a small town called Sulphur Springs. If you've driven to Texarkana on Interstate 30, you've passed right through it, and it's a town of about 12,000 people now. It was probably about 40 years ago when I was growing up, it was probably about 12,000 then too. It really hasn't grown very much, and much of the industry that was there when I was a kid is no longer there. The companies that produced various products, valves, and things of that nature, in terms of Rockwell International. So I was born to parents who neither had completed college. My dad had a high school diploma. My mother got her GED. And so I'm a first generation college student, like many of you. But my parents always, even though neither one of them had a college degree, they both were very adamant that I was going to college. When we had discussions about what happened after high school, it was always when you go to college, not if you go to college. So even though I had working class parents, they had a strong value for education and a strong work ethic, and they really pushed me to continue my education. So when it came time to graduate from high school, I looked around at various colleges, and my hometown has a college nearby that's about 25 miles away in Commerce. It was East Texas State University, home of Harvey Martin. You guys probably don't know who Harvey Martin was, but he was a great defensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys back in the 70s, back in the good old days of Dallas Cowboys fandom, if you're a football fan. Um, and so I went to East Texas State University because it allowed me to live at home with my folks, and they were still, being very supportive and helping me financially and in other ways to go to college. And I went to East Texas State University. It's now A&M Commerce, but back then it was ETSU. And I got a bachelor's degree in psychology. Then I went on and pursued a master's degree in sociology. And then some years later, I went to LSU and worked on the coursework for a PhD in sociology. And all this time, I was teaching as a graduate assistant from the time that I entered my master's program. I was teaching social problems and intro to sociology. So it's now been well over 30 years since I taught my first sociology class. So I have a deep passion for sociology and for teaching. And when I came to TCC, I came in working in the institutional research office, and did that for several years and really enjoyed it, but then got an opportunity to get on one of the campuses rather than working for the district institutional research office, and I jumped at the opportunity to come to Northeast Campus. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, I ended up being given the opportunity to come back to the classroom, which was really my passion and what I really love about sociology and higher education. So that's really kind of what brought me here. I've been taught at various institutions. I taught at LSU first as a graduate assistant and then as an adjunct instructor. I taught at Our Lady of the Lake College in Baton Rouge. I taught at Northwestern State University in Natchitoches, Louisiana for a couple of years. And so I've taught at a number of different institutions, and I can say without any doubt whatsoever in my mind that TCC is the most student centered institution that I've ever been able to teach at. So the faculty and staff here at TCC are really committed to helping you guys be successful, and I find that incredibly refreshing. So that's a little bit about my educational background and my roots in a small town, East Texas uh, town. And so I spent a lot of time when I was a kid growing up. I was a part of a nuclear family where mom and dad were very traditional. Dad was the breadwinner, and mom was the homemaker and the PTA mom, and Uber before Uber was Uber. She made sure that I got to my athletic practices, and my sister got to her functions in a timely manner and everything. And so I really grew up kind of in the idealistic and idyllic family experience. And when I grew up, I thought everybody grew up that way, that their parents were supportive and loving of each other, and there was no substance abuse and no domestic violence or any of that anything like that. But I came to realize as I grew up that not everybody was as lucky as I had been. And still am, because my parents today, my dad's 84 and my mom is 73. And even though my dad had a couple of heart attacks about 18, 20 years ago and had a quintuple bypass surgery, he's doing very well, and so far has managed to avoid the COVID virus. So my mom is 73, and she still works. Now she said she retired, but she still goes into work on occasion on kind of a part-time or PRN basis. Okay. So I really was very lucky, but I realized as I got older that some of my friends, their parents were not getting along so great, and it wasn't a supportive and loving family environment. And so that's one of the things I think that really got me interested in sociology. I was given lots of advantages and had lots of family support and encouragement, but not all of my classmates and friends when I graduated high school had those same kinds of advantages. And so I knew that many of my friends came from backgrounds that were a little different from mine. They may have looked very similar on the surface, but my best friend in high school and really throughout my entire elementary and middle school and high school career, as soon as he turned 18 and graduated, his parents divorced. And I realized then that they had really been very unhappy with each other for many years, but there was no, obvious arguments or disagreements, and so people didn't realize, how far apart they were at that point. So family is something that we'll talk a lot about in sociology. When we talk about, for example, chapter 4, the chapter on socialization, we'll talk about significant others. And significant others are usually our parents and other family members when we're really small. When we get older, our significant others might change to a teacher or a coach or our peer group. They become our significant others, and what they think about us matters to us, and it influences how we behave, and that's why sociologists are interested in the peer group. Okay, so let me tell you just a few things since we've entered this pandemic and we're engaging in social distancing. I have fallen in love with old Evinrude and Johnson outboard motors. I bought an old 1955 motor, and I had a friend or a fellow that I found on the internet actually uh, get it started and get it running, and he painted it and got it looking really great. And I got interested in learning more about these motors, and so I think now I've got 4 or 5 of these motors in lots of parts. I'm in the process of rebuilding those, and I'm going to paint them and try to make them, bring them back to life. They've been out of commission in some cases for 30, 40 years. They're 60 and 65-year-old motors. And so, that's kind of become a hobby now that we're in this pandemic and we can't really go and do all the things that we enjoy doing. That's one thing that I've done to maintain my sanity. Okay. And so, mental health is a very important issue. And so, when we get to the chapter on health, population, and the environment, we'll talk a little bit about not just physical health, but mental health. And it's important that we all take care of each other and be supportive during this time where many of us are not able to work. Or at least work in the fashion that we were working in before. We're not able to do the social activities. We're not able to hang out with friends and go and hear a band play and all of those kinds of things. So, it's very important that you guys take care of yourselves and take care of each other, take care of your family members, and let's all try to stay safe and healthy and outlast this pandemic. Okay. So that's a little bit about the kinds of things that I like to do and where I grew up. I lived in a small town. My grandmother lived out in the country, 15 miles out in the country, and so I spent a lot of time hunting and fishing and working in the garden and mowing my grandmother's yard because she had an enormous yard with lots of trees and flowers and all those kinds of things. And my family came from a farming family. And even though my dad really didn't farm once he graduated from high school and went to town and got a job, we still had some cows and we still had a garden and did some of those kinds of things. And to this day, my dad still, every spring, every winter, he'll say, I'm not going to have a garden this spring. And then when spring rolls around, he gets out there and breaks the garden up and starts planting things. And we get the benefits of eating some fresh produce out of the garden. Okay. So, as we go through this semester, I want to talk a little bit about the syllabus. We have 16 chapters in our textbook, but I'm going to cut out 2 of those chapters. That's chapters 6 and 13. But we will cover the rest of the chapters in the textbook. So that means 14 chapters. There will be a quiz on 13 of those chapters. Now, you only have to do 10 of them, but if you do all 13, then that's the possibility of 30 points of extra credit towards the end of the semester. Now, when I say 30 points of extra credit, those 30 points will be divided by the point total. So if we end up with, say, 600 points, that 30 points is divided by the 600 or the 6. So you get about a 5-point increase on your course average, which, that's half a letter grade. So I encourage you to do all of the quizzes, all 13 that are going to be available to you, and try to build up those points. And let me just tell you about the quizzes. They are really short, somewhere in the range of 19 to 25 questions, most of them right at 20. And you can take them more than once. And they're open book. So really, if you do a great job on the quizzes, that's essentially equivalent to a test grade or a little bit more than a test grade. So if you make an A on all the quizzes and you take it, maybe you have to take it 2 or even a third time to get that 10 points out of 10. Those will add up going towards the end of the semester. In terms of extra credit, that's really where the majority of the extra credit for the class will come from. I don't give anybody extra credit that I can't make available to all of my students. I think that's just fair. So if you come to the end of the semester and you're 2 points away from that A or 2 points away from that B that you really wanted, let's look back and see if you did all the extra credit and got all the quizzes done and took them 2 or even 3 times to get that perfect score. Don't ask me for extra credit that I can't make available to everyone in the course, because it really just isn't very fair for those who are working hard and making good grades to have somebody who did not work as hard end up with the same grade because they got an unfair advantage of extra credit that wasn't made available to the rest of the class. Okay, so that's really kind of what my feelings are about extra credit. I think, first of all, extra credit is okay if students work for it and they learn something through doing the extra credit work, but it should be something that's available to everyone in the class and not just a few individuals who have the gumption to go and ask for it. Okay. So let's talk about the syllabus. On the syllabus, there are links in the Blackboard where you can find my syllabus, and there will be some minor adjustments to it, as I said, because I'm going to exclude chapters 6 and 13, but the rest of the material we will cover. We'll have 4 exams with about somewhere around 80 multiple choice questions each, and perhaps an essay on each one. Those may there will usually be an extra credit essay. So if there's one essay that you have to answer, there might be a second one that you can answer for some extra credit on the exam score. Okay. So we'll have 4 exams and we'll have those 13 quizzes. There'll also be a couple of assignments, one very early in the semester. You've probably already seen that assignment that's listed in Blackboard. And then we'll have another written assignment later in the semester. Okay. You can work ahead in this class. One of the advantages of online classes is that the capacity is there for you to work ahead. I encourage that. I think that's a good thing if you're disciplined enough to work ahead and complete quizzes ahead of time and move on through the textbook. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's certainly a possibility if you have the discipline to do that. I don't recommend working behind. That's not a good strategy because typically if you get behind in a course, invariably something awful will happen. Somebody will run into your car, or you'll have a family member who gets ill and you have to focus your attention and time on that, and now you're further behind and you may be so far behind at the end of the semester that you can't make up. So let's stay on task, stay on target, hit your deadlines. I will accept late work. This is the first semester that I'm trying this, but because we are online and the technology gets in the way sometimes, I will accept late work, but it is subject to a penalty of 25%. So you could only make a 75 or 7.5 on a 10-point quiz if you do it late. So get it early, get it done. If you have to take it 2 or 3 times to get a perfect score, work on that, because that will also help you when it comes time to take the quiz, the exams. I will do a study guide for the exams, and I'll also have a Zoom session where you can log on and we'll have a discussion with everybody that wants to show up in a Zoom meeting, and we'll talk about whatever questions you might have about the exam. I'll define terms for you. I'll explain them. I'll show you relationships, and we can talk about those kinds of things as you get ready to take the exam. Okay, so we'll have 4 or 5, probably 5 Zoom sessions, because I think in a couple of weeks we'll have one just to kind of touch in with everybody, touch base, and make sure that everybody is doing okay. Textbooks may be an issue, particularly for those of you who got put in this section kind of late in the game. That's not your fault. So if you have a textbook issue and it prevents you from being able to take quiz chapter 1, on time, let me know. And there won't be any penalties for doing the quiz late when you've got a textbook issue. Okay, so just send me an email ahead of time and say, Mr. Harrod, my textbook is not in yet. and then let me know when it comes in, and we'll get you back on track at that point. Okay. I've had students ask me about where to acquire the textbook. Our online textbook order form is available. You can actually go on to the TCC Bookstore, Northeast Campus Bookstore website, and you put in the class and the semester and everything, and it pulls up the textbook, and you can purchase it there. I looked at our textbook. I think it's about $70 on the TCC website. There are other options, but I'm not sure how reliable those options are. For example, I saw a PDF version of the textbook that was $15 in a couple of different places, but I'm not sure what you get there, so I can't recommend the $15 textbook route. It's a PDF from what I understand, and you can download it and you can print it out if you want to, or you can just use it as kind of an ebook. If you choose that route, then you do it at your own risk. Like I said, I think it's $15. If I were a student and I was trying to save money and spend my dollars wisely, I would probably give it a shot. $15 is not a tremendous loss if it doesn't work out. But with these being online retailers, you may or may not get your textbook when you pay your $15. So there are other websites online where you can order a book online and have it shipped, and usually they can ship within a couple of days. But if you're ordering the book now and it's going to take a couple of days, then that's going to put you pretty close to Sunday, which is when our first quiz is due. So shoot me an email and let me know, hey, Mr. Harrod, I've ordered my textbook, but it's not going to be here till Friday or Saturday, and so I need a little more time on the quiz, and I'll certainly take that into consideration and make it available to you, okay, without any penalty. So if you have tech problems, we will be using Proctorio, which is a Chrome extension. That means that you need a laptop or a desktop computer that's connected to the internet that has a camera, a webcam, so that you can install Proctorio into Chrome and enable it. Let's try that a little bit early. Let's not wait till the last minute to try Proctorio, particularly if you've never used it before. It's something that you really want to set up and test out and make sure it's functioning before the day of the exam. If you wait till the last minute and then you try to install Proctorio and you run into problems, then you're going to end up being late on the exam, and that's certainly not a place you want to be. So let's try to get that done early. Our quizzes will be due on Sunday evenings, except on the weeks when we're taking an exam, and in that case, the quizzes will be due on Friday, and the exams will be due on Sunday. Okay. Now, you can take these things early. Once I open them up, if you want to take them early and get them out of the way, you're certainly welcome to do that and free to do that, but you don't have to. But you do have those deadlines of 11:59 p.m. on Sunday nights, except for the 4 weeks when we're taking our exams, and in those situations, the deadline will be 11:59 Friday night for the quizzes, and then 11:59 Sunday night for the actual exams. Okay. So on weeks when we have exams, the 4 weeks that we have exams, it might be a good idea to take that quiz early and get it out of the way so that you can spend the rest of the week preparing for the Sunday night exam. Okay. I also will recommend that you guys look at crash course sociology videos on YouTube. These are excellent videos that take 9.5 to 10.5 minutes to explain some of the more important concepts that we'll be talking about all semester. I've posted one in my videos. I posted one, the very first one, What is Sociology? Just to give you an idea, kind of introduce you to the crash course videos. Now, I've got plenty of videos for you guys to watch, but they're probably not as entertaining, perhaps, as the crash course videos, and they're certainly longer, unfortunately. But I'm trying to lecture over the entire chapter and not just a 10-minute clip of the chapter. Okay, so I would recommend that you read the chapter, you watch the video, maybe you read the chapter again, Then if there's things that you have questions about, certainly you can feel free to contact me, or you can watch the crash course videos. I think there's about 44 of those things, 42 or 44 crash course videos, and they're really well done, and they do a great job of explaining some of these concepts and terms. So don't overlook those as a resource. Okay, you can also use the Quizlet.com website. I don't personally have material up there, but there are many professors all across the country who've posted quizzes and notes and things of that nature. So if you go to Quizlet.com, it'll ask you for a subject. You just type in Intro to Sociology. Boom, up pops all these menus, and you can look at note cards, you can look at definitions and concepts, you can, in some cases, look at quizzes, and those quizzes are good to kind of practice your recall. You know, when you're reading this material, it's going into your brain, but are you practicing recalling that stuff so that when it comes time to take the exam, you can remember the difference between achieved and ascribed statuses? If you've been practicing your recall, chances are you're going to do better than if you don't practice recall. So it's not just about ingesting the material and reading it, it's also about forming connections and relationships. And the way that we do that is to quiz ourselves and to ask ourselves questions, and see when we can answer those correctly, and when we don't, we learn. In a face-to-face class, I would typically give the exam back after everybody took the exam, and we'd go over the exams, and students would say, "Oh gosh, I knew that. I don't know why I got that one wrong." If they'd practiced recall a little bit more, they probably would have remembered the correct answer. And two, when you discover that, oh gosh, I was so sure I had this right and I got it wrong, you'll remember that much longer now. It's a learning tool. To go over an exam that you've already taken can be a learning tool, because you start questioning, well, why did I think that was the correct answer, and what is the real correct answer? And then we can talk about it, and a lot of times that will stick in your head a lot better from then on, because you went back over. You didn't just take the exam and move on. You went back over it and reviewed it, and you figured out why you were wrong. I think that tends to help us on our second and third and fourth exams when we go over the first exam. Okay, but unfortunately, in an online format, that's a lot harder. But you guys can contact me via email, text, or a phone call, and I'm glad to talk to you about concepts that you've had trouble with, or questions that readings prompted you to think about. All of those things are things that I'm willing to talk to you about and discuss. And I mean, that's the real pleasure of teaching for me, was not this online thing that we're having to do now. It was the face-to-face interaction with students, and you guys having good questions, and me being able to kind of help you figure out what the answer is. I'm not going to tell you the answer. We'll explore it between the two of us, and maybe a lot of times I don't have the answer, but we can together we can kind of explore these different issues, and we can come up with our answers. Okay. So, like I said, there'll be a couple of written assignments, 13 quizzes, 4 exams. I think it's going to be a great semester, and I look forward to working with all of you guys. My goal is to teach you as much sociology as I can possibly teach you over the course of the semester, and to help you with your critical thinking skills and problem solving skills, and to give you a different way of looking at the world. It's not to change your view on things, not to, proselytize you into a different way of looking at the world. But many of us, I grew up in small East Texas town, grew up with a certain view of the world that was consistent with my parents and other family members and my peers. And there was a whole big world out there that I didn't know anything about until I got to college. And I realized that things that I thought I knew weren't really true at all, and that some of the perspectives I grew up and some of the things I grew up believing were not necessarily true. Okay, there's a lot of common sense out there that's not really very sensical, and it's not as common as we might think. When we actually do research, we find out that a lot of the common sense understandings we have of the world are not really accurate. Okay, so that's what sociologists try to do. Sociology is all about trying to understand how the world affects us as we're maturing and growing and becoming the human beings that we grow into. But also how we affect the world around us. If you're a social influencer and you've got 500,000 followers on whatever platform we're talking about, and people tune in and watch your TikTok videos or your YouTube videos or whatever, you have the potential to reach out and change people's lives and to influence the way they see the world. So we'll talk about mass media and social media. I think that's in chapter 5. And so we'll talk, or maybe that was chapter 6. But anyway, we're going to talk about those things, and we'll explore all of these kinds of topics and issues. And it's a great time to be thinking sociologically because right now we've got the transfer of power from President Trump to President Biden, President-elect Biden. He'll be President Biden by tomorrow. And we've got, two different camps in terms of what's fake news and what's real news. We've got, the Black Lives Matter movements, and then we've got these, the Antifa scuffles that have kind of erupted around the country. And now we've got the folks that stormed the Capitol building the other day. These are people who view the world a little bit differently from the other groups that I talked about. The folks who stormed Capitol Hill have a different perception of society and the world than those who are protesting as, Black Lives Matter movement or things of that nature. And just time sometimes changes our perception of people. In the 1960s, Martin Luther King was a target for the FBI. He was viewed as a troublemaker by a lot of people around the country. But today, even people who in the 60s might have, shunned Reverend King, today see that he was doing some really incredible things at great risk. He paid the ultimate price, right? He was assassinated for his attempts to bring about some equality in the world. So, people in this country, even though we're a single country and we're American citizens, we aren't monolithic. We don't have all the same views of the world and our country. And so we've got subcultures all around, and we even have countercultures. And countercultures are groups that want to rebel against and overthrow the existing social structure. So we could possibly call those individuals who stormed the Capitol building the other day, counter countercultures, members of a counterculture. Okay, so we'll talk about all of these things. I think you'll have a great semester. I'm certainly planning on us having a great semester together. Let's have a good one. Stay safe and healthy. Take care of your family and friends. Social distance. Wear your mask. Do all the things that you need to do to stay healthy, and keep in mind that it's not just about you, it's about your loved ones. I have seen my parents I think 3 times since last February, so 3 times in the last year, and it was at a distance. We got together, but we were outside and having a meal, and we were sitting far from each other where we could still talk, but hopefully not put each other at risk. So hang in there, guys. The vaccines are coming. Maybe we can get beyond this thing and get to our new normal, whatever that's going to be, by the middle of the year or the third quarter of the year. So hang in there, and don't hesitate to contact me if you need to. And let's have a great semester. Okay. Thank you.